All right. We are live. Hello, hello, everyone. Hopefully you can see me and hear me okay. First of all, apologies for the mix-up on the dates. I was kind of working off the calendar quickly when I was scheduling out all these for the week. And in my mind, I thought it was Thursday, but I got a notification on Twitter yesterday where Lara Streams was like starting in 15 minutes. So, yeah, sorry about that. So if you were waiting on me yesterday, apologies. We're all here now. So, again, welcome. Today, I just wanted to I was going to do this anyway, so I just thought, hey, why not live stream and just kind of get people's opinion on some of these things, and I might keep working on a few more ideas for Laravel 9. So I was actually working on the Laravel 9 shift, so I was kind of reviewing the upgrade guide, reviewing the change log, all the things down here where it kind of kicks you off to GitHub and says, hey, do these comparisons. Here it is, yeah. Do the comparisons between the files that actually changed. And I just saw some opportunities, some tiny opportunities for things. There's a tiny couple little paper cuts that were in Laravel currently that have been on my list. I always kind of keep a running list. In fact, here's the list. So we're just going to start at the top and go down. In fact, not all of these, in thinking about it, are specific to Laravel 9. In fact, these first two could probably definitely be done probably PR'd against Laravel 8, the current version, because they don't have any breaking functionality or anything like that. You could even argue this third one could too. So anyway, getting a little ahead of myself, the point is, let's just jump in and kind of start building some of these. So with that, yeah, hey, Samuel, hey, Tibor. Is that right? Tibor? Tiber? I'm not sure exactly the correct stressing on those syllables there, so apologies if I didn't get it right. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do is I'm probably going to need to pull down the Laravel, because some of these are going to go straight against Laravel. In fact, which ones? Well, let's start at the top. Here's an isEnvironment helper. Now, right now in Laravel, you do, I guess, app environment, and you can say like testing, and this would return true if you were in the testing environment, false otherwise. And of course, you can, chain up helpers galore here, so you can use the app helper to call the environment helper. The point is, I always forget that this is behind app. So I just thought a isEnvironment helper might be nice to throw into Laravel. Again, I think this could probably go into Laravel 8 directly. I didn't see where anyone had tried this before. I posted it on Twitter the other week, and it seemed to get a decent number of likes. So it seems like some other people were always a little confused on where this lives. So I just feel like it's just be nice to see a nice little top-level streamlined thing. So I kind of feel like it'll probably get closed, but it'll get the ball rolling. So why not give it a start? So let's go into framework, and oh, my implicit view data, it actually got closed too. We're not off to a good start here. Let's go check out 8.x, and let's do git pull. Looks like I'm already tracking upstream, so let's git pull upstream. Okay, so now we should have all the latest 8.x changes, so let's do git checkout -b is environment, and let's go back to the PHP Stormsville and start adding this. So I'm assuming I think all the helpers are underneath like support and helpers maybe. I always forget. What is another helpers file? I'm trying to think of another helper that's out there. Let's go look. Why guess? Laravel.com. Helpers. Let's just find another helper and here we go. One that's ideally probably tested. Class base name. I bet you this has probably got a test. It's a relatively new one. Okay, why can I not? There we go. Let me just select it. All right, let's find class base name in tests. Okay, here we go. Cool. Support helpers test. So it is in support. Where was that? I missed it. It was right there. I just didn't see it. Okay. So what does this do? Support helpers test. Is this just a massive file? Yeah, it's kind of massive. All right, cool. So let's just make some new stuff. Or actually, it's going to matter. We're going to need to interact with the application slightly to probably manipulate this. And that implies a certain type of test, not just a PHP unit framework test. So probably going to need to search the tests code base for app environment. Doesn't have it. So let's environment. Yeah, here we go. Blade statement tests, foundational application test. Here we go. Given its nature, I'm probably going to need to do it in here. No, this is a PHP unit framework test. Is it that simple? You just make a new application and you can call app environment on it? I guess so. Okay, well let's just copy let's copy this and let's put this down at the bottom. And the implementation is pretty straightforward because we're just going to delegate out to some of the other stuff. So let's just add this in here. So we'll just apply that in there, bring in application, and let's get rid of all this annoyance. Okay, so new application, app foo. So all we really care about here is assert true when I would say something like is environment foo. All right. And then, see, I don't think it's as straightforward as calling it on that. You're going to have to actually build up an application because underneath the covers, this is going to delegate to the app facade. So I don't think I can put this code here as simple as this because of that delegation. It's not calling it in like a unit testy kind of way. But the point is we would say false here and we could get rid of these things. So this is the test, but the problem is we need to actually specify some environmental stuff here. So I think this is probably going to need to be an integration test. So let's go find, we need to find somewhere, I don't know if they break them out. They do break them out, the integration support. Let's see if there's any, like, yeah, see, this actually brings up a Laravel application underneath through Orchestra Test Bench. And so we'll want to do something similar before calling this. So I will want, let's just make a new PHP file, helpers test or something like that. Let me just paste this in here for now, and let me copy this header. Let's just make our own little new test here. We're not going to need that. And we're not going to need that. And this is now called helpers test. Let's close this off. And it's going to bring up a real application. So now we're going to need to kind of hack in the like app env value here. That's kind of the next piece. So let's search through app integrations where we can maybe toggle the environment the way we want. So we could say something like, well, let's just see if they even do anything with Php Env. Of course not. All right. There's like I think there's like a set environment. Get environment setup, app config, app key. You can obviously set things straight in the app configuration, but I thought there was like a higher level way to do that. Well, let's just see what happens here. So let's do this. I guess you have access to app like here in the code. Or do I need to do something fancy? Yeah, I guess you just do. Oh, it gets injected, protected. That's not exactly what we want. There's a way to set this. Let's just go look at Orchestra. Orchestra test bench. It's such a simple little helper, but to test it is actually a little bit annoying. Let's see here. Where is documentation? There's a way to set defining environment. Define environment using annotation. Config set test define environment. Uses MySQL. Oh, it actually will go off and call that. See, I thought there was a way you could just like hard set it, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I wonder who calls this get environment setup though. This just must be like a okay. Alright, so where defining environment using annotation. Let's see if I don't want to be the first person in Laravel to do this. Yeah, see, they're not doing that anywhere else in the code. It's a bit ugly. Why do I keep getting PHP stand warnings? Like, go away. All right, so defining the sets environment. Okay, can these just be ignored forever? What's going on here? Set environment. All right, and let's do. Okay, this is getting annoying. How do you just stop? All right, let's do, I guess, protected function. Public, what does it have to be? It could be protected. Okay, cool. So protected function set environment. Let's just prove this works and we can worry about getting it right, you know, after the fact. Okay, so here we would say app env is foo. All right, I want to see if this actually runs now. So let's copy this and let's do vendor bin PHP unit. So annoying. Wait. We should be on Laravel 8. Where is the top level composer stuff? Get out of my way, Kim. Yeah, 7.3. What's going on here? Oh, I upgraded. Never mind. Sorry. Composer update. Sorry. Let's run this real quick. My view data provider thing was on Laravel 9, which was an 8 specific thing. So let's bump our dependencies. Or in this case, downgrade them. And now let's try that again. Okay, total failure. Call to undefined function is environment. Okay, cool. That makes sense. So let's go define this in our source. So source support helpers, I assume. Yes. All right, is there anything in here with env? So let's just kind of put it with this one, or are these in alphabetical order? Optional, P, R. Yeah, they seem to kind of be in alphabetical order. Let's keep that. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All right, so right here, H, I. Cool. So let's do this. And let's do is environment. All right, and for now, we'll just return false. And this will probably be name. So we'll need to clean this up, but let's just kind of see it running the way we want. Okay, so failed asserting that true is false. So let's actually do the comparison now. So that's pretty good because obviously we're just flat out returning false all the time. So in this case, we would probably want to delegate to app, I think. Let's just look at, again, let's follow suit of other things that like Laravel is doing. It does pull in ARR. Do they pull in like facades here? They don't. Do they do anything with app in here? They don't. They don't do anything with those. See, this is why I think this will probably get rejected. I don't think they like when you load up the app in like a really high level here, even though other helpers do this kind of stuff. Like there's a lot more helpers than what we're seeing here. For example, like the request helper. Like it pulls into it. So to that point, let's take a look. Let's take a look at like what that does. Yeah, here it is. So it pulls out of app. So they do use the app helper directly. So let's follow suit with that and use app environment name. So we're just delegating is all we're doing. This is super easy little thing. Okay, so we're still getting failed asserting that false is true. So let's dump out name. So we should be passing in foo. We are. And now let's dump out app environment testing. Okay. My guess is there's a couple things. There's going to be a couple things wrong here. First of all, this is probably, the testing environment is probably overriding this in like PHP Unit or someplace that's making this hard to mess with. DB connection testing. I'm just wondering if there's anywhere where they're setting the testing environment kind of explicitly that's overriding this. So let's just do app-env. Okay, they're not. Let's see where testing might be coming into place. So mock application contract, no. Should receive environment once and return testing. So they're kind of faking that out. Testing env. I don't think they're overriding this. Foundational application test. Is this just a PHP unit test? Yes, it is. And they're just, yeah, they just keep messing with that directly. But in here they were doing like production. Oh, they're setting it to local and then they're making a new application and making it production. Yeah. See, they're able to manipulate the testing env kind of directly here, and because they're newing up something, and I don't know if this is enough to kind of mess with the app config. Like, just to kind of prove this a little bit, we could go back to helpers, and I could dump, let's see here, I could dump like config app.env, and let's see if that is foo. It is. Okay, so to me that means that environment here, get or check the current application environment. Let's see how this works. So string is this environment. So you can actually pass multiple environments. That's kind of cool. Otherwise return this env. Oh, it gets the environment. It doesn't necessarily check it. Oh, that behavior is actually a little bit different. That behavior is actually a little bit different than I expected. You actually would have to compare it. That's why this is environment thing's a little fancier than some of the other stuff, because it actually checks to see. So if you pass multiple arguments, it returns string is. Which string is, what does that do? Determine if a given string matches the pattern. That's strange. Kind of need to like maybe better understand how this works. Patterns is array. So if they pass in multiple environments, then it's assumed to be a pattern, I guess. Is there an example of that in the docs? I don't even know if they have an example of like the environment helper in the docs anywhere. Laravel app environment. See, this thing kind of lives in like no man's land. Environment. Yeah, see, here we go. Okay, so the environment is either local or staging. Okay. So if environments is greater than 0, if the first argument is an array, then use it. Otherwise, assume that what they've passed in is a list of environments. And then they do pattern is, and it has to be one of those. So in this case, if you pass in multiple arguments, it already returns a bool. Otherwise, you would need to compare it. So what that means is we would, first of all, need to write some more tests. But we would also need to do the same check here of like, if multiple, if arg or name is array, then return, directly, right? And then otherwise, we would need to compare against name. So we kind of have to do like the same code that's in here a little bit of like, did you pass in an array? So this would really need, let's just write this real quick and then we can always comment it out and get those tests working correctly. But basically we would need to say like, if name is an array or like count names is greater than 1. So, but really this is more like func get like args. Or is it func count args? Func args? Func num args is what it is. Func num args is greater than 1. Then in this case we would just pass that kind of straight along with like func get args, because we know that it's like a whole list of what we want, right? let it do the right thing. Otherwise, we would return like this get environment is equal to name. That's really what needs to happen. This is really what this needs to be. So I think this is the right implementation, but now it's a matter of testing it. And I think to test it is going to be a little bit trickier than I thought, because we'd really like to be able to manipulate that so we could kind of test this all, but let's just kind of prove out that it works for now. So let's just drop that annotation for the moment, and we can actually just leverage the fact that we know it's the testing environment, and we can drop that in the right way. I'm hearing some stuff in the chat. Let me finish my train of thought, and then I will definitely go check those things. So definitely true if it's testing, and definitely true if testing, and then also true if, sorry, my phone's going off, all sorts of stuff happening. Okay, so also true if we were to pass that in as an array, right? And then, but otherwise it would be false if we just asked for foo, and if we just asked for foo bar, and if we just asked for, you know, an array of foo bar. So we don't really need to control it here. In this case, we would just leverage the fact that it says testing, and then we would put it into the support helpers, and we wouldn't need to do this integration thing. So let's just see if this works. Let me check the chat. I hear some stuff going off. Hey Haas, how's it going? Does Laravel 9 affect shift codebase in any way? Not seen the change log. Is there any major breaking changes? I assume there is. I'm not sure what you're asking, if Laravel 9 affects the shift codebase. Laravel, the shift engine is built with PHP directly. It is not built within Laravel. The website is, of course, but the engine's not built. So there's no changes we need to make. But I don't feel like that might have been what you were asking. Hey Vince, thanks for joining. Param needs to use, yes, you're right. I didn't finish that out all the way. Yeah, this is kind of like, this kind of needs to become environments. Yeah, this is not pretty. We need to clean that up. But yes, the point is this should be like environments or something like that, or names even. Okay. In my opinion, if you need to copy that check here, this helper doesn't make sense. If you need to copy that check, it's not the same check in fairness. And the fact that I am having to do this here, in my mind, the other way around, demonstrates that this method is very complex. I don't think it's like complex in that it's hard to understand, but it's complex in the fact that like it does about 6 different things depending on what you pass it. So if you don't pass it any arguments, you get the name of the environment. If you pass in an argument, it checks that the environment does the right thing. So again, I think our implementation is probably not what it needs to be. It can probably really still remain maybe just this, because we're just kind of feeding it along. And I don't even know if we need this spread operator, but I'm just trying to cover all bases. So let's get this test running, and we'll kind of go from there. So we get an array to string conversion on 159, which is right here. Array to string conversion. Func get args. Why would that array to string conversion? Doesn't this return an array? Why would it get array to string conversion? If is an array, or the number of args is 1. Okay, see, I don't think I don't know if we need to do this. I don't know if we need to do this check. I think this might have been what you were saying, Tiber. I think we just straight delegate on because we're always passing the underlying method something. I think we're still going to get this array to string conversion though, which is kind of strange. Do I have to spread this again? Does func get args not do what I think it does? Maybe I have to respread that. I do have to respread it. Why would I have to respread that? Because the argument being passed in is... No. It would always give me an array. I don't know why I have to respread that. Do I have to spread these things at all? I mean, I do, because I'm passing a variadic argument to it, so it makes sense that, of course, I would have to respread it. I'll be honest, I don't totally understand why I have to respread func get args. My guess is line 13. My guess is func get args returns an array of arrays, maybe? Array of arrays. Array to string conversion. That must be what it is. If I pass this in, I'm passing an array of the arguments I pass, which is an array. And so ultimately it's passing an array of an array, whereas it's effectively wrapping it, is what's happening. But if I spread it, then I prevent the unwrap, or I unwrap it, so I prevent the wrapping. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Yeah. Yeah, so just to explain that a little bit better, this is fine because this returns an array, but if we look, it's helper's line 13 that craps out, and that's when we're passing in an array. So what happens is, if I don't spread it, then ultimately I'm passing app environments this. I'm passing it an additional wrapped array, which is then causing string to crap out because it kind of expected to work on an array directly, not an array of arrays. So if I spread it, then I'm really just passing the exact same arguments through to what we want. So it's just a little helper that basically, again, in my opinion, more explicitly defines the behavior of this by honing in on this exact piece here, right? We're always calling this in this regard, and it kind of gets rid of that wrapped code that, yes, to Tiber's point, we never really needed it all along. And it just puts it under an aptly named, thing. So there is mixed, so what do we want to call this? We want to call this name, or we want to call this environment? Should this be like names? Should this be like environments? Probably environments, huh? Determine if the current environment is one of the past environments. I'll let Taylor get the magic descending going there, but that's effectively correct. Let's make sure we're still passing. We are, and now let's get rid of this stupid extra test that I built. That's really not needed now. We don't need to mess with orchestral because we can just leverage the fact that when this is run in PHP Unit, when the test suite is run, we're always going to be running in a testing environment. So we can just leverage that fact. So let's just put this down where we want it, maybe underneath some env stuff. So test is environment, looks good to me. And let's run this instead. All right, this eCam live thing is annoying me. It is in my way. Call to undefined method, illuminate container contract environment. Oh. Because we're using that app helper directly, it's actually going to fire up a it's actually going to try to fire up the container called an undefined method at illuminate. So is there a setup in here maybe? There's a teardown. I'm wondering if they mess with container at all in here. They do not. Well, I spoke too soon. Maybe we do need to keep that integration test. Hello, hello, can you hear me now? Am I back? Hopefully you can hear me now. You probably won't be able to see me, but hopefully you can still hear me. All right. Can you hear audio now? I know there's a little bit of delay. Sound is back. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I switched to the internal mic. So it's really cold here today, and I'm in the basement, and my camera is unfortunately right below the vent. So anyway, yeah, the sound is probably a bit tighter now because it does go through the camera, which I'm using like a little boom mic on. But anyway, let's just kill the camera for now. I'm just going to drop the camera for now, just to avoid confusion of being an all blacked out camera. What time is it anyway? We got another 20 minutes or so. So yeah, if it's okay, I'll just keep streaming with no video, but I'll keep the internal mic audio. So if it picks up a little extra in the room, my bad. But hopefully, sounds like everybody can hear me now. Okay, so anyway, let's bring this back to life, which we did. Whoops. And I just got rid of it again, apparently. All right, so show history. Revert the revert. Revert. Okay, I want this back, and I want my test that I had back over here. And there we go. And we really don't need that. So all we need is just something that actually fires up an application and allows us to just run this in an integration-y kind of way. So if we go back to running this should all be green because I don't have any tests in there anymore. And if we go back to running our integration version, this should be green because now it's actually going to load up an application and read in the environment variables, in this case testing. So all I really want to do here is just make sure we add in what we want. So let's just kind of eyeball this. So we add a little is environment, we have a little is function environment, environments, and we just pass that on, and it's just a little helper to allow us to use that directly. So the only other thing is our test itself. So we'll just do git add test, git commit -m add is environment helper. All right, I'm not going to open the PR because I like to craft those with some examples, and it normally takes me a good 10-15 minutes, and who wants to watch that anyway? So let's move on to the next thing. Let's try to get to here, and then maybe I'll talk through these other ones and might try to live stream them in the future. point. So that's good. This actually already might exist. So let's go find out first before I start cutting a branch and everything. So let's go into str, and is there a missing? There is not. Okay, so let me bring up container or collection. And I think if we look, it's not here, but it's, I think it is in maybe lazy collection. Where's the lazy collection loaded from? Oh, that's an eloquent collection. Let's go to collections in general. Missing. It's not in here. It's missing from missing. Is it in here? No. I always forget where they dump this. Missing. Where are you? Cache, collection, load missing. I thought I saw this get added the other day. It was actually something I was like asking Taylor about. Well, let me confirm this exists before I start adding it somewhere. I think I chatted about it on like Shifty Bits. Let's go find the archives. All the chat and stuff is in my way. Where are the archives? There they are. It's in one of these older ones. Yeah, here we go. Contains. Well, shit. I was hoping I would have a link to the patch that did this, but maybe not. So let's just find this code. Here we are. Oh, doesn't contain. I thought it was called missing. Yeah, okay, so here's the idea. To determine if an item is not contained in a collection. So we know, if we go look at like str, we know that there's contains, I think. Yeah, so determine if given string contains a given substring. So I kind of want like the same as this, but you know, doesn't contain. So I don't know what people are, I don't know what people think about that, but like I kind of want the opposite. I want to be able to say something like str doesn't, you know, doesn't contain, you know, Ruby or something, right? So like, you know, I'm looking for something like that, right? So it's really just the same thing. I like to make these complementary methods when I see them come across on other things in the framework. So again, it's just one of those tiny little things, a little bit of consistency that I think could be added to the framework. Again, doesn't really matter to me if it gets, you know, merged or not. I just think it's nice to add, and it's super easy to do that. We can really just do the same exact implementation we see here. So, and to that point, contains all. Determine if a given string contains all array values. Yeah, so like doesn't contain any, then you could also do. Like it's just kind of it's just the knotted version of this is all. So I don't know. Tell me in the chat what you think about that. I don't know how valuable that is, but I don't know. I think those are interesting. So let's do str test, maybe support string test. There we go. All right, cool. So let's just find wherever contains is, and we could just kind of copy these two and kind of do the inversion of them, if you will. So let's do str doesn't contain. So doesn't contain, that'll be kind of different. Is that what they did here? Yeah, doesn't contain versus contains. Yeah, I think that's fine. That's the proper naming. So let's change all this to doesn't contain, and we need to call this in all sorts of different ways, right? So this is actually inverted, is what we would do here. So we would do assert false on those, and then these would be assert true. So pretty straightforward. And just for clarity's sake, let's just bring those, flip them back around. Okay, so assert string contains all is all good, and then this would be something like assert string doesn't contain any would be kind of the new one. So same thing, let's just invert these to assert false, and this will be assert true, and we can change this to doesn't contain any. All right, so we have our tests. Let's copy the location of this test file. Oh shit, I did this on the wrong branch. We'll cut this branch here in just a second. Okay, so we have two failures. Of course, doesn't contain and doesn't contain any don't even exist. So obviously that's going to be a problem. So before we keep moving, let's do get checkout dash b doesn't contain, and we need to cut this off of the upstream 8.x branch. All right, cool. And the reason I did that is if we just look, I just wanted to make sure not to get my new helper for is env. I don't want them to make these dependent upon each other. Okay, so if we run our tests again, we should see that we have those same two failures. We do, so I think we're ready for implementation now. And these appear to be in alphabetical order again, so A, B, C, D. So let's just copy these. They should come right after that. And we'll change this to doesn't contain. And this will really just return the same thing the collection does. The collection does, wherever that was. Collection. There it is. We'll just copy that. And there's that handy spread operator. Gosh, we're seeing that everywhere now. So now we can say static instead of this. So not this contains func get args, blah, 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 blah. And then we would say doesn't contain any. And we would do the same thing here. But in this case with contains all. And we would just need to change this to say, like, determine if a given string does not contain a given substring. Cool. And then same thing here, determine if a given string does not contain any array values. Cool. Those might be a little long for what they want. How many characters do those go out? That's 70, so 80 I think is the standard line break. So I think that's probably okay. But again, if Taylor wants to adjust those to clean them up, beautiful. Okay, so test pass, pretty straightforward. We knew that would be. I just think it's a nice little addition. Again, it took us 10 minutes, but I think it makes for that cleaner code that you can get. So. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and add this up, git add -p. So let's just take a look. We've added these. They should be in alphabetical order. They should follow the naming convention that Taylor uses. Oh, we got an extra line break there, actually. Let me fix that real quick. And then we've got our test. Doesn't contain any. So the test looks good, but we have one extra line break right there. Sorry, just making sure my daughter wasn't awake yet. Seems to be all good. Okay, so git commit -m add str doesn't contain doesn't contain any, or well, you know what, that's kind of long. Let's just say add complementary contain methods to str. How about that? All right, that's good enough for now. One more. Well, we might have a minute. Okay, this one actually goes against Laravel, and I might just talk this one out because it's a pretty straightforward change. Let's go ahead and pull down the code. Git clone that, cd Laravel, git checkout master, git pull, should be good there. Okay, so this is super straightforward. All I really want to do here, in fact, I'll probably just do it in VI. Okay, so this, I wrote up on this. I got to tell you, this server thing was changed probably back in like Laravel 6. I'm really surprised that it has remained. JSON McQuery, PHP Unit Env Precedence. I think I'll talk about those. Yeah, I definitely talk about it in great detail, but here's effectively the precedence. If you set it here, if it is a server, if it's exported, or if it's an env. So this is the precedence that Laravel and PHP Unit in combination follow. Now, notice server is second highest. The only way to overwrite that is if you specify in your application a particular bit of config. Notice that below that in precedence is an export. So what happens is if you're setting up CI, you can actually really get bit by this. I don't know if anyone watching, I know there's just a couple people left, but maybe you've gotten bit by this before, but like this can really be annoying because if you set something in here for your local environment, just for convenience, and then you go to set something up on CI, you know, you might spend an hour trying to get that to run, you know, and then stumble upon the fact that, you know, those should have been env, like you couldn't overwrite it because it was higher up with the server bit. So anyway, long story short, what I want to do here is basically change anywhere where it's server to env globally. Cool, done, that's it. That's all I want to do. So if we do git add -p, those servers are now env. It puts them a little lower in the precedence lifecycle, which allows you to overwrite these with any kind of system level variable. They're still higher up than anything that would have gotten loaded out of your env file. So it's it really should be a non-effective change and really should only matter for those people that need to overwrite those with an export. So anyway, again, I will do a git checkout -b here, use env. I guess what are those? Stanza, directive. I don't really know what those are called I'm just going to call it a directive. GST, cool, git commit -m, use env directive. I can change that name later. So anyways, I'm going to open up that PR here, all of these PRs here later today. The last thing, and actually I think Jess and I found out this morning, this isn't necessarily required, but in Laravel, if we go look at master, and we jump into the database, we can see that Laravel 9 is adopting these new anonymous migration classes. And this is something that was added about halfway through in Laravel 8. There is a shift workbench task for you to automatically adopt these if you want. Anonymous. There we are. Adopt anonymous migrations. So you can actually do things like this, some of the modern stuff with migrations. It will be applied in the Laravel 9 shift automatically for you as well, but we can see that Laravel has adopted these out of the box. The bit of consistency is I wanted to make sure that the stub files, when you run artisan migrate, of course, also did this, and they do. So if we take a look at like the migration stub, in master, we can see, oh, I'm not on master. That was the thing I was going to add, but I found out this morning that, of course, the Laravel team has already taken care of that for us. So that doesn't need to be done. So the last two things I don't think I'll have time for today. This one let's talk about, though, because those that are still hanging out with us in the live stream, despite the video issues, this is one that I think is probably the big one that I would want to add. And let me just bring up like Laravel shift as a code base so I can kind of like demo what I'm after here. Or well, you know what? Project A. This Project A was the thing I was working on that made me think of this. If we go to models and event, yeah, here we go. So let's talk about this. All I really wanted to do was make sure that the events were kind of in a certain order. So in this case, like in descending order. So like your most recent events are going to be first. And I don't want to have to everywhere in my code be like event, you know, latest kind of thing. Like I know there's easy ways to say this in the code, but the point is I want to just always have a model be, you know, in a certain order. Now, the way to achieve that is to add a scope, in this case, a global scope. Here I can just do a really simple named scope, so order, and then, of course, in the builder, just always chain on an order by starts at descending thing. I can do this. This is totally achievable in Laravel. But the point is, I just wish I didn't have to write all this code for something that, in my mind, seems like pretty straightforward. So I was just wondering if there was an opportunity to say something like protected, order, and here I would just say something like, you know, starts at, or something like that, and I can say descending. If I can type, I can say descending, right? Like it's just the default order by, maybe that's order by, I don't really know. That's kind of what I wanted to hack on. Underneath, it would really just do this, and in your code, you could always do something like, you know, product without, you know, default order by or something like that. You don't even have to worry about the name. You would just be able to do something along those lines. So I don't know if that's, I don't know, tell me in the chat if that's something of value. I feel like, you know, adding all this method just to set the order by is kind of crazy. Just felt really un-Laravel, a little heavy. You know, this could even be, I don't know, a little simpler. Like it could assume that the order by is ascending or descending. Maybe the method on the model could be unordered. Oh, the one to turn it off could be unordered. Yeah. Yeah, I was just trying to follow suit with like how to disable a global scope. Like you kind of do the same thing like without scope or something like that. So I don't know. I think it's super simple. And I'm kind of, honestly, I'm kind of surprised the framework didn't have something like this already. I'm pretty sure like Rails and stuff does. But yeah, like you could just assume, you know, ascending or whatever. Or if you passed an array, if you wanted descending or something, you could, I don't know. There's a lot of array things already. So I don't think it's a big deal to just make it be an array at all times. Like, yeah, if it was a keyed array or something. So, and this would allow you the possibility, I guess, if you wanted to sort them by multiple, you know, multiple columns, like just make it be an array. So yeah, I don't know. That might be something I hack on in another stream. I think this would definitely take more effort to kind of read that out and kind of do the right thing because, again, underneath all of that, you're going to have to do this anyway, right? And, you know, we would just name it. But the point is, underneath the covers, it's going to add a global scope for you. It's just a matter of, you know, how that's done. But yeah, I like that. Unordered. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, this one's kind of technical without default order by. The only reason I was thinking that one, again, is, you know, Laravel, if you look at the docs, like model scope or whatever. Where is it? Applying global scopes. If you look, you can like turn it off without global scope, and then you say whatever. So this is kind of like hinting to the fact that it's just a global scope. But yeah, that unordered is much smoother. I just wouldn't want people to confuse. Without events is an example. Yeah, there's definitely without other things. Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could say like without ordering or something like that, or without order by. Yeah, you could tighten it up a bit. I was just trying to be consistent with that without kind of nomenclature. But yeah, I think this would be cool. So like, basically that would be the way to turn it off. And this, of course, if you set this property, then kind of this is built in for you. It kind of just happens. And of course, if you have multiple, it would just loop over them and, you know, add them whatever way you said, right? So yeah, that's kind of what would happen underneath. So this is kind of the prime example. Technically, it is ordered by ID by default. It's based on your underlying database, but yes, yes. Yeah, MySQL, for example, is going to default order by the primary key, which in Laravel convention is ID. So yeah, so there's a lot of nuance to this for sure, but I think that would be, you know, so smooth if this were there. And again, you don't even have to specify descending, like it would work. But I think this would give you a lot of flexibility because it just allows you to pass in a key value pair of what you want to pass into the order by statement that you're already using anyway. So anything you would pass into order by could be set here as a key value. And you could set multiple. Like this gives you a lot of flexibility by making an array. And again, underneath, we would just call out to whatever. As a side benefit of this, real quick, last thing I'm going to say on it, Laravel default order by model. If we look, I actually came across this, and someone had written a little bit of a cast, I think. Yeah, they wrote a scope in which they call the column and direction. As a bit of an aside, you know, underneath, maybe, you know, maybe this would also introduce this particular scope to allow you to use those and be included is the point with the framework. And now you would actually have something out of the box with the framework that if you wanted to do your own, you know, custom ordering, you know, in a different way, like this is available too. Like, again, just more things the framework can give you. So all that's kind of centered around this particular task. I'll set up a live stream for maybe early next week to kind of tool around on that. But in the meantime, I'm going to get these PRs opened probably later today. Fingers crossed, maybe one or two of them. I really think this one should get merged. I'm going to press pretty hard that this is the right way that those values should be set. You know, unless somebody has a convincing argument. Otherwise, you know, Graham or somebody might know better than me. But I definitely feel like this one I'm hoping could get merged. The other ones, the doesn't contain any and all that stuff, those are just kind of little nuanced things that I found myself getting confused on in the last couple weeks, and just thought, hey, Laravel 9's coming, why not try to see those get added. So anyway, thank you all for joining live. Sorry for the short out on the video there. Got to stay warm in my little basement office here during this cold weather. So I'll probably up the temperature setting on that, because it did that a couple weeks ago after about an hour, but I did have the furnace running this morning, so that's why it only lasted about 40 minutes. So again, thank you all for joining live, and see you all next time.